Hello and welcome to Take Time. I'm your host Patrick Marlette, and today we're going to talk about Seiko's AGS line, or as it's more commonly referred to today as the Kinetic series. And in my hands, I'm holding an early Seiko AGS Flightmaster. Many of you have been asking me about this watch over on my Instagram, so I thought this would be a great way to not only discuss a little bit of the Seiko Kinetic's history, but also of the Master series as a whole. This is an early AGS Flightmaster. This particular model was made in '96, and it measures about 48 millimeters from lug end to lug end. It is 40 millimeters in diameter, excluding the crown and crown guard. It's about 13.5 millimeters thick and has 19 millimeter lug widths. To start our discussion off, I want to briefly cover a little bit of the kinetic movement's history. Seiko's history regarding the kinetic movement is actually quite interesting. You see, work to develop a watch that operated independent of batteries began in the early 1980s. Seiko sought to create a watch that was both practical for the user and environmentally friendly, as it was found that improperly discarded batteries had negative effects on our environment. The question was, how do you create a watch with quartz precision but the convenience of an automatic movement? Well, in the spring of 1986 at Basel Fair in Switzerland, Seiko answered that question by showcasing a prototype watch with an AGM movement, an automatic generating movement. This abbreviation was soon changed to AGS, or Automatic Power Generating System, to better express what the watch was accomplishing. You see, these movements are special in that they generate and store electrical energy that you, the user, create. The real hurdle in development here was creating a system that generated enough power to operate a quartz movement. This was accomplished with the 7M movement of this watch's predecessor. However, their first commercial AGS watches did have a lot of issues. 3 years later, were brought the first series of 5M movements, and by the 90s, Seiko started churning these particular watches out. Today we're looking at a '96 Seiko AGS Flightmaster, utilizing a 5M45 movement. It boasts a 14-day power reserve and an accuracy of plus or minus 10 to 15 seconds a month. However, these particular movements aren't thermocompensated, so dramatic temperature changes may affect accuracy. The movement features a 24-hour bidirectional bezel, a true GMT hand separate of our hour and minute hands, and a date over by the 3 o'clock. The case and bracelet are made entirely out of titanium alloy, and our crystal is made of sapphire glass. Now, that AGS badging on the front remained up until the late 90s, when it switched to the more familiar kinetic text we're used to seeing today, kinetic motion being what makes these watches tick. Now, at the same time the Flightmaster was produced, Seiko started producing a series of master AGS watches that would appeal to enthusiasts, sportsmen, and professionals alike. Beyond the Flightmaster, there was a Scuba Master and the ever-popular Landmaster series, all cased in titanium with matching bracelets featuring GMT movements. But the Flightmaster would be the only one to feature a screw-on case back as opposed to its monoblock brethren. To earn the master distinction as seen on the dial, these watches were built to withstand any task thrown at them. So in essence, these rest at the apex of all of Seiko's kinetic models. However, in modern times, these lack the popularity and attention they so rightly deserve, which is a shame because Seiko's Master series remain one of the most well-built designs in their catalog. Flightmasters like this are rarely seen anymore, and absolutely stunning in person. The hammered and polished bezel insert with the glossy black dial and the hyper-reflective hour markers adorning it are unlike any GMT, modern or otherwise. Nothing in Seiko's current lineup is this handsome or unique in styling or as well proportioned as this. Heck, of any brand's modern lineup, this is a watch I would love to see a modernization of. Divers are getting a whole lot of love from Seiko these days, vintage model designs having a bit of a renaissance, but these early Master AGS models are still being overshadowed. There's something about the deeper tones of a titanium case that are just eye-catching. Your eyes just sink into the case material. But when others are going to admire your Flightmaster, Scuba Master, or Landmaster, it's going to look a little something like this. And when you go to admire it, it's going to look like this. And here's what the Flightmaster will look like on a 7¼ inch wrist. It's absolutely stunning, and I think most of us would agree that 40 millimeters is an appropriate size for most modern wrist. It just works. It's a magic size. I think it looks really, really good here. I absolutely love the two-tone quality of our bezel insert here, which, by the way, is entirely made of metal. I can't verify whether that's steel or titanium, but I've actually removed the bezel to get that insert aligned correctly, and now that it is, this watch is just a knockout. When I picked this up initially, it needed new seals as well as just a little bit of cleaning, which I went about doing myself. It was actually rather simple, and luckily, sourcing parts for many of these older AGS models is quite easy if you know the right sources. So I was very fortunate to get this resealed and working properly with a new capacitor. And now it works like it were brand new. Seiko has such a robust history in both innovation and design that nearly every watch from their catalog shares a unique story. Modern Kinetic watches need to take a page out of the 90s because Seiko was doing it so right with their Kinetic design back then. Now gang, if you found this video enlightening or in the least entertaining, feel free to hit that like button. It looks a little something like this guy. If you have friends, forums, or groups that are interested in just a little bit of Seiko's Kinetic history, well, feel free to share this video with them to give them a glimpse of one of Seiko's most beautiful designs. Also, if you're new to the channel, well, welcome. I do videos like this 2 or more times a week. So if watch content is your thing, I'm going to encourage you to slam that subscribe button. It lets me know that you're down for the show. And if you want to see my videos precisely when they air, you can hit the bell icon just next to that. Again, my name is Patrick Marlette, and thank you for the time.